Hey everybody, New Leaf here, and today we're here for a very different kind of video. So I'm gonna follow a little bit of a trend, and that was something I found on Twitter where ponies were basically describing their path through the fandom, showing off a lot of things that they collected, merch, and the many conventions that they visited, and of course how things may or may not have impacted the life outside of the fandom too, pony. So let's see where this journey starts. It starts in 2014. Jeez, can you believe it? It's almost 10 years since I've been a pony, almost 10 years. And everything started with a meetup, every pony. This was not, sure, I was talking to bronies throughout the year, but this was like the first time I ever got to see other bronies, and it was a meetup at a castle, and this was like sort of a little bit of a camping trip, and it was sort of curious and of course super inspired. But not only was this the start of New Leaf interacts with ponies, but of course this was also when I got my first plushie, which is something monumental to me, ponies. That was Fluttershy, by the way, and yeah, what can I say? This was only the start of many things to come, and I guess back then what was I doing outside of the fandom? I think it was beginning to study. It is so long ago, ponies. I do not remember. Anyhow, after all of that happened, it was the first meetup. It was not like a real big convention as you might believe. The first really big convention was in 2015, and it was none other than Galacon itself. And back then, I didn't know that I was so lucky to have this huge convention right in my country. That's a pretty lucky thing. But then again, a lot of times, if you're, getting in contact with the fandom, there's a little bit of RNG involved depending on how close you are to a convention to, really how much you can get in touch with people. And it's a nice thing to do. But of course, throughout the year, there still have been many small meetups. So let's see. And I think the other important thing is in 2015, this channel was made, ponies, but it wasn't like really active until way later. It just, made it because I thought it was kind of cool to have, but it was just more like an archive. It was just like a, hey, I found something cool, let's store stuff there, and that's what it was for, I think, the next 3 or so years. That was really just about it, and that's all she wrote. And yes, in 2015, I officially began my studies in business administration, ponies. It's kind of a cool thing, And yeah, I think 2016. Let's move over to the next big year, I believe. 2016, I believe, was one of the most important years in this fandom that I could have possibly spent. Let's see. Yes, in 2016, Winter Wrap-Up was in the Netherlands. That was my first interaction with this convention, and the reason I learned about this convention was because of Galacon 2015. They had like little flyers, and that's the whole reason I even went there. It was exciting because it was like a cool convention in another country, but the thing is, you need to drive a little bit, like really, really, really long 8-hour drive, but I couldn't resist. I went there. When I want to do something, I get him an 8-hour drive for some pony fun felt just a little bit down my alley, ponies. I wanted to go there, and so I went there. And 2017, let's see, no, I want to talk about 2016 one more thing, because Heartswarming Con is going to become important throughout the other years that I'm going to be talking about, and you'll know why in a little bit, every pony. But 2017, I went to Galacon again, but this time it was a little bit differently because I wanted to try out volunteering, and what that means is you help around the convention with some of the smaller activities, and you get to experience that other perspective of being sort of behind the scenes in a way. And it was an interesting experience, but it was super stressy, but still fun at the same time. And Every Pony, like I said, in 2015, I began my studies as business administration, and as my studies were developing, I was learning a little bit more about the whole management side of things. I was like, what would happen if I, combined these two things and, helped the fandom with what I learned in university? I mean, I guess it would be an interesting thing. We take all the knowledge that we get from science and apply it to Ponykind. I guess that's a little bit productive in a way. But what this ultimately resulted in is, I loved HeartSwarmingCon 2016. It was such a good convention, and I am just about when GalaCon 2017 came around, I saw the call for, hey, you want to help out at HeartSwarmingCon 2018? It was like, you know what? Let's apply and see what happens. And lo and behold, they said, New Leaf, come aboard, do your magic. And so I was there, and it was really, really cool. It was every bit as awesome as it could have been. But I will talk about HeartSwarmingCon 2018 a bit, but it would be incomplete without mentioning Tequester 2017, where I got one of my coolest Brony artifacts. Look at this little coin here. This is, I think, supposed to have some astronomy kind of thing, clock related thing on its backside, but of course it has the little logo with Miss Labusa printed onto there, and I think that's a really cool thing to have. It's an easy thing to just have around everywhere, and people will really not know what this is about. It's I guess a little nerdy too if you want to be like that. Alright, 2018, big year as well. It was when I got to actually not only volunteer for HeartSwarmingCon, but you got to do you had a little bit more responsibilities. You had to do some logistics. That was what I was supposed to do, and it worked really, really well. And this convention was a little curious because it was an upgrade from the 2016 one, because we had a much bigger venue. We had a school to work with ponies. Yeah, it was pretty exciting. As someone who hasn't seen school for ages, this was a throwback. But we also got to learn a lot of new things at this convention about cosplaying, about voice acting, and what was that other thing? There was this. Oh yeah, there was this merch. This particular merch. This is something else I got. It's a little fancy tie, but if you wanna go full sneaky onto a business meeting, you wear that, and it'll be formal enough to be fine, but it's still gonna be suspicious enough so people will start asking questions, which is just the perfect balance, every pony. And the 2018 also had a bunch of smaller meetups, which was also nice. The smaller meetups are almost like a little contrast to the big conventions, because at the smaller meetups you have a lot more opportunities to talk to people and all. But you also have this issue that you sometimes have to travel a little bit, and fortunately back then I was very well connected, and it was easy to just teleport wherever I really wanted to go. So, but this isn't the reason why 2018 is probably the most important year, and that is because I started to actively put things onto the channel, and I guess I can go into story time too here. It all started because someone was feeling a little sad and depressed and was like, why don't I go ahead and make a little bit of a gaming video? Maybe that's kind of cool. It was just an experiment, not much else. I did that, and people really liked it, so I ultimately started to make more, and we all know where that ended up. But once again, let's draw the parallel to the real life in 2018. It was I was getting near the end of my studies, every pony, and new options became available, and I decided to major in marketing, which is cool, because you get to be creative and still do a lot of managerial things, and it would become important in 2019. Once again, I went to GalaCon. I mean, at this point, that's like my second home. I think that's like the third or fourth GalaCon that I've been to. Yeah, that's the fourth Galacon, or I don't know. But the thing is, Galacon is just like literally 90 minutes of a drive away. It's just here. What a nice thing to have. But once again, Heartswarming Con was, beginning to rally its ponies for the upcoming year, and ponies, I did well there, and they were gladly bored to have me there again. And since I was doing marketing, was like, why don't we do that too? And I did that too, and it was fun, and it worked, and it was really, really nice. But the other thing, because I was learning so much about marketing, was like, why don't I just apply some of this to the channel and see if it can reach more ponies? And that's what I did. And we got a little bit more following. We got people to come along. We did play more games, and I've learned a little bit about finding my own niche, if that makes any sense. How the channel got its little identity in this year, I feel like. Like, we understood our role, if that makes any sense. Like, we wanted to be this in-between thing between gamers and game developers, like showing off some of the cooler games that were out there but people didn't know about, and at the same time, give developers a little bit more of a spotlight, and as well as giving the gamers something to play. And being that in-between thing is what I think was one of the main things that happened in 2019, and it's what we still do today. But of course we do other things nowadays as well. Like, come on, I didn't even have this weekly face back then. That was something that would happen in a future year, ponies. But yes, 2019, ultimately, I did graduate, and was like, this is fun. Let's do some more. And then we decided to go for the Masters as well, and we absolutely, in total Twilight fashion, had a field day there. But we will go on that as we move along. But in 2020, we all know what happened in 2020 and how most of us were basically grounded for like 2 years. But it didn't end because, or my pony journey didn't end just yet, because in 2020 there was Heartswarming Con, and we got extremely lucky. The most lucky we'll ever be, because the lockdown for us came around in the middle of March, and our convention was at the end of February. We were able to barely get away with holding it. If we had planned that convention a month later, there's a good chance we just might not have been able to hold it all together. That would have resulted in a whole new level of chaos. And the difficult thing I tell you about from a business perspective in regards to convention is there's a lot of bills and resources that you invest in before people come to the convention. You have to rent the place, you have to organize things, and if on convention day or a couple of weeks before the convention they tell you, hey, you can't hold the convention, suddenly you of course have to refund all the tickets and then find a way to cover all the expenses that you've incurred throughout the months and maybe even year that you took to plan this convention, which can really spell disaster for people. I've seen some conventions be there. But yeah, ponies, 2020, the lockdown came, and convention struggled. And for me, as, a Brony who got the channel up and running, this was kind of one of the cool ways to still interact with the fandom is, gaming and sitting at home go hand in hand. And as more people started to sit around at home during the lockdown, it was more of an opportunity for people to play together, share creative stuff, even more than it was previously. And it was a nice way of, bringing more content to people, and a nice thing. But in 2021 is when I think conventions started to go a little bit more experimental. They tried doing things with online conventions, but in that year, it didn't have much time to do much of anything with the fandom, not only because of the lockdown, but because my master's was in full swing, ponies, and it is a very challenging study course, I tell you. It is the kind of thing where you basically have little to no free time, and sometimes even have to do things on the weekend. But it's a fun thing, ponies. It's very educational. And in 2021, I would begin writing my thesis, which is a really, really big paper, every pony. I don't know, I think mine was like 130 pages, a little tiny old paper. And, 2022, things started to calm down a little bit, at least in Europe. We were able to go outside a little bit more. A lot of the restrictions were lifted, and conventions did end up following. And Galacon, I think, was the first convention that I was able to go to again physically. But in the time of the lockdown, or better said, throughout the years leading up to after the lockdown, of course, we got more ponies onto the channel. We would reach 2,000 subscribers before hitting, or around the time Galacon 2022 came around. And, of course, Galacon would become another video in, I think 2018's, or no, was it 2020? No, I think it was 2020's Heartwarming Con was indeed the first time I made a video about these, and at this point it's become kind of tradition, every pony. And, we're gonna talk a bit about the future in due time, but, future conventions will become, videos as well. There's gonna be a lot of them this year. I got some good things coming, ponies. Yes, and in 2022, almost in the present, once again, I finished my studies. I got the master thesis thingy, and by that point, I became such a science whiz that I was curious to see what else I could do, because, Twilight Sparkle and science and all that was something super inspiring to me, and so I was like, why don't we continue this journey of science? And so New Leaf would apply to become, a PhD student, every pony. It was a special thing, because this is something you don't just expect to happen to anyone, ponies, and, you'd be surprised Pony got lucky, and in 2023 I am able to pursue this dream, and, looking back at the beginning in 2014 when all this began, all the Brony involvement, I was this shy, sort of careful person who was just a little bit unsure of what to do, but always felt a little bit inspired, and now this is not the case anymore. I know what I'm after, I know what I like, and I think it's a nice thing. It's looking back, I found a lot of identity in that time. That's the one thing that I can take from this fandom, that I found a lot of identity, a lot of things that we like and don't like, and things to look out for, values, and it's an important thing to me. And curiously enough, every pony, I guess it can go a little sciencey. My thesis was a little bit on trust and acceptance, every pony, and that is pretty close to writing about, friendship altogether, which is pretty close to being, Twilight Sparkle in a way. And yes, 2023, my journey in that field, in the science field, begins, but of course now comes the moment where we look into the future and other conventions, and of course also looking at this channel and seeing what might come, ponies. And here we have a little bit of a trailer. You see this? This is going to be that gaming show I've been talking so much about at the beginning of the year, and ponies, it's starting to materialize. The components are coming together. The variables are making sense now, and soon I will have it, but we will see. I'll try to get the first version of this done by Easter. I don't know if I'll be successful, but Pony is going to try. Now we have to talk about conventions too. I was talking to you ponies about Galacon, UK PonyCon, PonyCon Holland, and there was the one in America. Which was that? Don't remember. A Cider Fest. It was Cider Fest. Now ponies, I won't be able to go to the one in America because I did not get leave for that, ponies, but that means next year I'm gonna do what I said, and next year Pony will go to an American convention regardless. However, all the other 3 conventions, we got the green light, we're able to do them, ponies. I'm able to go to Galacon, which is gonna be the different venue every pony. It's a serious thing. I mean, Ludwigsburg and Galacon are pretty much synonymous at this point, but can I say? New venue, different place. So this is going to be a breath of fresh air in a way. I mean, if I'm making a video of that, it's going to be so different, every pony. A new venue just always gives something, I don't know, how do you describe it? It always feels different, even though it's the same, even though it's Galacon, it's at a different place, it's gonna have different vibes, and gonna bring a little bit more, things to discover, if that makes any sense. Then, of course, we will be going to UK PonyCon. I got the leave for it. I should be able to have everything set aside that I need to go over there, ponies. Now, the one thing I haven't decided on yet is how I'm going to get to the UK. Am I going to do flight or am I going train? Both seem really exciting. I mean, flying is cool. I have flown before, but a huge ride on a train throughout Europe also seems like a really curious thing to do. So I don't know which one we're going to do, but my thought is this. When I'm going to that convention in America, I'm going to be flying anyway. So right now I'm leaning towards the train thing, and plus it's a little better for the environment as well. So maybe this is going to be a huge train ride. I think that would be kind of fancy. And of course, PonyCon Holland, the third one, is also going to be an interesting one because every pony, Heartswarming Con is gone. 2020 was its last iteration. It is over. Doesn't exist anymore. And this is basically the successor. So again, another sort of familiar thing with a new face. And that's why, ponies, we're definitely gonna go there as well, and most certainly make a video of it. And we've been to the Netherlands a couple times now. We know a thing or two. We know like 3 words in Dutch, and we know how to make those waffle things, every pony. That might be a recipe at some point to make stroop waffles. That would be actually a really curious video, every pony. But we're gonna see where this takes us. I think this has been a nice little educational thing as to the anatomy of a brony, how things can go, and it's curious. Let's see if other people also have stories like this. It's a nice way to share where people came from, and of course, if there's one thing that I think people can take from this is, you know, being in this fandom changes you, but it develops people. It's that's how it goes. Oh boy, here we go with the sciencey thing again. Let me collect my thoughts for a second. So yeah, basically, ponies, your experiences lead to more knowledge, ponies. That is how I can describe what it is like to be in this fandom for such extensive time, and of course that shapes who you become in you know, the many years that you've been there. It's everything that you experience, ponies, in some way influences what you become. That is another sciencey thing. But ponies, before this gets super sciencey, I think we can, you know, call the video here. It's been an interesting way of explaining everything that I've done so far, and I wonder what other ponies have as stories. The thing is, every story is unique. Every person has done different things, and thusly everyone who's a brony has also got an entirely unique story as to how they got there and where they ended up in this you know, wonderful fandom. It's been a great time, and as long as there's games and ponies, I'll keep doing what I'm doing. That's as simple as it is. Alright, ponies, but I suppose with that, I thank all you lovely ponies so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye, and remember, ponies, Wednesday's winter wrap-up from what I hear. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel to be notified whenever there's a new video. And this new stuff here, whew, every single day, and Galactic Pony tells you that science is magic, and magic is awesome. But does that mean science is friendship? Curious.